Hey Book Dragons, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to tell you about a few books that I read prior to starting Booktube. Let's go. Thank you to my patrons. I really appreciate all you do to support the channel. So I got the idea for this video from Drew over at Drew's Book Reviews. He recently did a video like this, and I liked it so well that I asked him if I could use the idea, and he's like, yeah, go for it. So I want to make sure that he gets credit for it. I will leave a link to Drew's channel in the description below so that you can check him out. I'll even link the video down there as well that I got this idea from. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the books I read before starting Booktube. The first one on this list is my favorite book of all time, Ocean at the End of the Lane. It goes without saying that that was a book I read prior to starting Booktube. And I read it about a year before I started Booktube, I believe. It was actually my first review on the channel, my first video on the channel, I should say. So if you go way back into the back catalog of Bookish Chaz, you will find a video review for Ocean at the End of the Lane. But I had read it a year or so prior to starting my channel. And then also prior to Booktube, I read the Middle-earth series. So I read The Lord of the Rings, I read The Hobbit, I read The Silmarillion, and I read Children of Hurin. So I read a lot of Tolkien. I still have a lot of other Tolkien I want to read, but I really thoroughly enjoy the world of Middle-earth, and eventually I'll probably do a reread of those books, with the exception of Children of Hurin. I didn't really care for Children of Hurin that much. It was okay, but it definitely wasn't my favorite of the series. The Silmarillion is kind of the same way, but I do want to reread the Silmarillion, but I'll definitely reread The Hobbit at some point. I've already read it 3 times as it is, and The Lord of the Rings I want to get back to as well eventually. Another book that I never really hear talked about at all on Booktube is The Looking Glass Wars by Frank Better. This is a YA series, although it's kind of more on the older YA side of things, and it is an Alice in Wonderland retelling. So Alice is a princess in the Queen's court. The Mad Hatter's name is Hatter Madigan, and he is an assassin. It's just a really cool and unique take on the Alice in Wonderland mythos, and I highly recommend it. I had a lot of fun. There are sequels to it as well. I have not read the other 2 books in the series. I would probably go back and reread Looking Glass Wars first, and then move on to the other 2 books in the series. There is also a series of graphic novels featuring Hatter Madigan. It's kind of all about him. I have not read those either, but I really enjoyed The Looking Glass Wars. And another series of books that I read prior to starting Booktube is Harry Potter. I read all 7 Harry Potter books over the course of one summer. I absolutely loved them. At the time, my kids were a lot younger, and I kind of wanted to see what all the hype was about because they were really popular at that time. And my kids weren't quite at the age where they were reading, that level of books yet. But I kind of wanted to see what all the hype was about, and be ready when they're of age and I can recommend it to them. So I absolutely had a blast with Harry Potter, and I hope to reread it again soon. But yes, I'm a huge Potterhead. I am a Slytherin. Don't tell anybody, okay? I was shocked that I'm a Slytherin, but I guess I'm a Slytherin. Who knew? Dune is another book that I read prior to starting Booktube. And I did a reread of it last year, but my first time actually reading the book was prior to starting Booktube. And I actually started reading Dune Messiah shortly after it as well, but I ended up DNFing it at the time. Now, I do want to go back and start reading Dune Messiah again, but at the time I DNF'd it. So, yeah, but I have read the first book, and now I've read it twice. I also read the Chronicles of Narnia prior to starting Booktube. I don't feel like I really care to ever reread Narnia. They were fun stories, but I don't I don't know. I don't know that they've aged extremely well. They were great for the time that I read them. I really enjoyed them. Fun stories for kids especially. But yeah, I read those prior to BookTube and actually quite enjoyed them at the time. And then I read all of the Robert Langdon books by Dan Brown. He's the author of the Da Vinci Code, Angels and Demons, etc. So I read all of his books in that series prior to BookTube, except for Origin. Origin is a book that I read after I started my BookTube channel, and it was the last book that he wrote in the series, at least so far. And I thoroughly enjoy these books. They are just phenomenal. If you enjoy a really good international thriller that keeps you on the edge of your seat and doesn't let up, you need to read Dan Brown's books. He is really, really good. And I also read all of the books by Patrick Rothfuss: The Name of the Wind, The Wise Man's Fear, and The Slow Regard of Silent Things. Slow Regard of Silent Things is actually my favorite book in that series, and it focuses on Ari's character, and she's one of my favorite characters from the series as well. And so eventually I'll probably reread those, especially since one day he may release The Doors of Stone, and then I'll have to go back and reread those to kind of refresh my memory on everything. But yeah, those are really good books, and they are talked about quite a bit on BookTube, but I had read those prior. I also read The Picture of Dorian Gray prior to starting BookTube, and it's a classic novel by Oscar Wilde, and it is just positively creepy, and the ending just blew me away. The ending could be taken a couple of different ways. So I really highly encourage you to read The Picture of Dorian Gray if you have not. It's a really great gothic horror novel, and I just had a blast reading it. I also read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. That was just okay for me. I grew up with the Disney movie, Kirk Douglas, Peter Lorre. Oh, James Mason. James Mason was the main character. He played Captain Nemo in the movie. It's one of my favorite Disney movies. I've watched it who knows how many times. It just always keeps getting better and better, like a lot of classic movies do. And I don't know, when I read the book finally, after having watched the movie so many times, and I knew it wouldn't be like the movie. I knew there were going to be changes, but I don't know. It was kind of boring to me, honestly, especially the nautical references. It was chock full of nautical references, and I mean detailed nautical references. And I was just like, oh my gosh, can we move on? So I'm glad I read it, but I don't think I'll ever read it again. I also read the first 5 books in A Song of Ice and Fire by George R. R. Martin, which of course inspired the show Game of Thrones. And I just absolutely love those books, guys. I also read A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, which is part of that world, part of the world of Westeros. Follows a hedge knight nicknamed Dunk, or Duncan, and his companion Egg. And I won't go into what Egg is a nickname for because it would give you spoilers, but if you know, you know. And just these are such phenomenal books. George R. R. Martin has a fantastic grasp of writing characters. Character development, world development is just a massive scale, but it's epically done, and I just love that series. And I read all of those prior to starting Booktube as well. So that just kind of gives you a glimpse. You know, I've been reading for a long time before I started Booktube, and so I've had a lot of series and standalone books under my belt prior to starting my channel. Let me know what you think. Did you enjoy this little glimpse into my past, into the past reading exploits of Chaz? Let me know in the comments, have you read any of these books? And what did you think of them? If you have a Booktube channel, I would encourage you to do this. We can kind of make it a tag, so to speak. And you can do this. I love to find out what you read prior to joining Booktube. And if you don't have a Booktube channel, let me know some of the books that you read prior to finding Booktube, and let me know if watching Booktube videos has expanded your reading tastes. I would love to talk with you in the comments. Make sure you guys are reading more books. I'll talk to you soon.